ponder the question, what if?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another installment of our What If coverage of our first impressions this week. Stanford, not going to waste any time. What did you think of what if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper?
Well, dude, I really love Captain Carter, and so I was hooked throughout. And then, just as the music is playing, Cap's in it too, or Steve Rogers, and there's something about their love story that no matter what universe they're in, it's still pretty great. So I enjoyed the episode. It was a cool ride, and also wow. So much stuff going on. So much stuff.
Yeah. I enjoyed it as well too. What I really liked about this one too is a lot of the times with some of these it's it's a small change, and then it maybe feels like it's just part of this one movie that we already knew. Whereas this, it feels like it's like the end of the Avengers, it's the Winter Soldier, and then it's also the Black Widow movie.
Yeah.
All coalescing into this installment of What If. And in here we've been talking about this past few days too, is that for as far as the voice actors and then people reprising their roles from the live action MCU, we had Sebastian Stan again as Bucky, Haley Atwell again as Peggy, Captain Carter, Frank Grillo as Brock Rumlow. We also had Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury again. Rachel Weisz was in here as Melina, like we were saying from the Black Widow movie. And then the next one, this is a first impressions thing, so if you're watching this and you haven't watched the episode yet, know that we'll be talking spoilers about it. So, and then the person that shows up at the end of the episode, also reprising their role, is Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch. And I'm not gonna waste time as far as stuff that I liked a lot in this. And that was one of my favorite things at the very end of the episode. With that was with Scarlet Witch pulling Peggy into another universe. It's at the same time that the Watcher is like, I am the Watcher, I observe. And it's like, what the hell?
I know. Wanda just kind of took over.
Yeah. So I guess what were some of your favorite sequences in what happened in this episode, as far as we are kind of pointed out the different films that it kind of steps on here, but what did you think?
Well, just as you had said, Mark, I liked how Captain America, the Winter Soldier, was one of my favorite MCU films, and so I loved how it was just all these kind of role reversals. Captain Carter pulls up in the car, and it's Natasha who's running, getting her workout in. And then she gets in the car. I mean, so there's kind of that similar dialogue. All that was really, I thought it was enjoyable. And solid action. I mean, when we see the Hydra Stomper, and then also just all this stuff going on, really, I think during the third act was there was so much going on. All those crazy dummies or decoys or whatever that we're shooting.
The widow stingers in there.
Yes. Yeah. And then the that water tower falling and all the stuff going on with that. It was then also Captain Carter trying to reach out to Steve, who's in some really kind of a weird state.
Like a mix of Winter Soldier
yes,
with the Red Room stuff from Black Widow.
From Black Widow, yeah. And then whatever the Hydra Stomper they were talking about was doing, that was preserving his life, right? Or giving him life.
Yeah, kind of hand wavy sci-fi kind of science.
Yes.
I was like, all right, like, because I was trying to figure out like how they would explain like why is Steve like still look like, you know, 1940s Steve, just a la a beard.
Just with a beard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought that that was interesting, and I like some kind of connections here with like a little bit with like the Iron Giant, just because of the Hydra Stomper.
Yep.
Um, but and like
Yeah.
choosing whether you were a weapon or whether, you know, to do what you needed to. And I liked in this, like in Black Widow, Rachel Weisz's character is like kind of more gray. In that one, like she still obviously did like a bunch of bad
Yes.
stuff.
But yeah,
Um,
you're right. There's a real element of yeah, just kind of ambiguity. Yeah.
but it also seems like, or at least I don't know much more like changed in like this universe or whatever, but like she like Natasha says that she killed Volkov in this one. She and are you sure? He's like, I'm pretty sure I put a corkscrew in his carotid artery. I was like, oh wow, that's graphic.
But yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so I don't know, maybe like with the absence of him like all together, like after a certain point, like maybe Natasha did that much earlier in this universe, considering he was still alive in in the events of the Black Widow film. Like maybe him being taken out much earlier had Melina ascend and just go fully embrace the dark side of like the red room, or I guess the red side, if you want
Yeah.
to say it that way. Yeah, like, and she was like, I thought was interesting there with all of Natasha's sisters. It's like, oh, go for her leg. She hurt it in a bike accident when she was a little
When
kid.
she was a little girl, yeah. Or the exact quote was, yeah. And they
Yeah,
did.
yeah. And then that leads you to believe, I guess, at least in this universe, like where are Yelena and where is Alexei, the Red
Yes.
Guardian? I think the Red Guardian is supposed to show up in another one of these episodes.
Okay, I hope so.
I thought it would have been kind of funny if, or kind of cool if he had showed up in the like the 1988 Avengers one.
Oh, that would have been
I mean,
cool. Yeah.
they had Bucky in that one, which kind of fit that same thing. But like he could have also, since like he was with Rush with that, it could have been
Yeah.
like, oh, here's your Captain America equivalent for this team is, I guess, but it wouldn't be, you know, it'd be like Captain Russia or Red Guardian
Right.
as it was.
Yeah.
Um, but we talked about some of like the live action actors reprising their roles, and some of the voice actors that have returned here too is like the one uh, like Belle does, like we talked about her yesterday, and like in some of these other ones that she's already shown back up in as Natasha. And I think like Belle does like an awesome job with doing Natasha Black Widow
I do too. I
for
like her.
these.
I like her performance. Yeah.
And then Josh Keaton again as Steve Rogers,
Yeah.
aka the Hydra Stomper. I thought both of them in their roles within like the animated MCU, or it's technically not like a separate MCU. It's like the MCU. It's part of that tree that Loki is holding together right now still. So
That's right. Yeah.
now, and you were kind of talking about like some of the sequences that stood out to you. Like the one of the things that I really liked in this too is we saw it a bit like in like the notorious opening that everybody loves to Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So like we had that. It was almost like one of those like the like fake towns they make to do the nuclear
To do the nuclear
uh,
test. Yeah.
tests on. Yeah, so they call it like one of those John Mellencamp towns. Um,
Yeah.
which I thought was funny that like, oh, Peggy's like, oh yeah, I've been told about that. It was been recommended. And she's dropping Star Wars references there though too.
Yes, there were some Star Wars references, which were yeah.
There's been a lot of those in these too, because there's a Vader one
Yes.
in the recent episode, and then I
Yeah.
think there's another one another one of the episodes too. Which I mean, I guess synergy for Disney.
Synergy. Yeah.
It'll be funny if Nick Fury ever makes Star Wars references though.
Yeah. Exactly. Uh,
But
I
yeah,
love Nick Fury though. You know, it's so great. This Samuel, L. Jackson is on board for these. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
And like again with that little thing there at the end, I liked that 1602 kind of
Yeah,
tease we got
we
of
got
the.
to we got to tease
And he had
like,
like
what's going to be episode
the
8, right?
like yeah like the waxed like curled mustache too. If you go back and watch it, if you missed it,
Yes.
because he's got that
No,
all
I
done
know.
up.
I saw that. I wanted to ask you if I was like, did I seeing that right?
Yeah, so that has me looking forward to that. Although that's still two more episodes away,
Two
because
more episodes away. Yeah.
we have 2 episodes between that, and those are going to be revolving around things that are seemingly unconnected, at least to our knowledge right now,
Right.
of that. So should be interesting. But yeah, that whole sequence in the kind of like 1950s Americana kind of town there, I thought was a good way to kind of set Peggy and Steve like within like a like this could have been a possible setting for us had
Yeah.
everything like kind of gone right, or like
Yeah.
kind of like where we see them at the end of Endgame there, where they finally do get their dance, and it's like within the late 40s or early 50s at that point. So I also, speaking of that too, I thought it was cool to see Bucky essentially in like the Alexander Pierce role,
Right.
and see like an aged Bucky that got to live a normal
Aged Bucky.
life, more or less, basically. So
Yeah.
that was cool to see, and I liked that whole kind of element there. And
I did too.
now the like we've been saying too, like how it's a mixture of Winter Soldier and Black Widow. What did you think of how like the ending and this was handled too, with Steve and Melina and Black Widow and Captain Carter all within like the kind of like climax of the episode here?
You know, I mean, overall, Mark, I thought it was pretty interesting, pretty exciting, and because even though we're all, of course, in this different universe, but these are characters we all care about, right? And
Yeah.
so, uh, this the stakes. I mean, I don't know what else to say. The stakes felt real. I mean, as real as it can within the contract, the context. But you're just like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And I thought it was pretty thrilling. What did you think?
Yeah, and I mean it kind of ends more or less the same way that Black Widow ends, with like
Yes,
the
you did say
Red
it
Room
felt
being
very
taken
much like
down.
Black Widow. Yeah,
But also again, like speaking of Iron Giant, like with Steve, like and kind of Independence Day, with like how Randy Quaid flies into, I guess spoilers for Independence Day. Randy Quaid flies into the like the main one of the
yes,
UFOs and that, and like, all right, you alien ass.
yeah,
It's basically Steve's like, all right, you Red Room,
yeah.
and takes Melina up there with him. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, did it feel like his programming, or like the Hydra Stomper programming, had actually been overcome there, or how did you think that was all handled?
See,
Kind of in the.
that's a good question too. Honestly, for me, it was a little unclear, uh,
Yeah.
and maybe that was the point. But the programming, I mean, you know how it kept like going on and off. I mean, they were having all those fights, and he was getting hammered. The shield, you
Oh yeah.
yeah, Cap's shield kept getting chucked at him and stuff. But so I wasn't sure how much was like the programming or how much was like damage. There was that free fall thing going on, and anyway, Captain Carter's got skills because she can sure manage herself when she's like doing a free fall, at 30,000 feet or
Oh yeah. And,
whatever.
yeah, like handling and moving the Hydra Stopper to get it into
Yeah,
the
to
Quinjet
like
there.
get it into the Quinjet perfectly. I mean, that was still exciting, but I was like, wow, this skills.
Yeah, that was a great sequence. And like speaking of Bucky, going back there really quick, I liked how Bucky stood in front of the shot that Black Widow would have had to take to such take out Steve and the Hydra
Yeah,
Stomper. He's like, I'm just doing something as dumb as he would have done
yeah,
for me, which in another universe he did do
he
that for
did
you,
do.
Bucky. So uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I really, and like for the most part I did, like we said, outside of that little bit there with it being kind of unclear about the programming with Steve. I mostly enjoyed this episode too. I because
Yeah.
Captain Carter and like how we've been introduced to her in these, I've really enjoyed, and I think Haley Atwell's awesome as Peggy.
Oh yeah, she's
And
so
then
good.
it's not MCU, but also if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend seeing Dead Reckoning Part One with Haley Atwell because she steals the entire movie from everybody else that's in it. So I would highly
She's
recommend checking that out if you haven't seen it.
fantastic in that movie. Yeah.
I mean, I would just watch if they did a Captain Carter movie, I would watch that too,
I know. I wish they would. Yeah.
animated or otherwise.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
now we've talked about it a little bit too, but in when we get to the ending of this episode, it's essentially kind of again kind of like the ending to Winter Soldier, where it's uh, Sam and Steve going to try to find Bucky at that point. In this, it's going to be Natasha and and Peggy going off to try to find Steve, which I just kind of assumed he was dead because he flew into the red room and it blew up. So
I
I
don't
don't
know how. Yeah, how he could survive it, but he probably did. I mean, but still.
comics because
Yeah,
comics.
it's the comics.
Yeah, he already survived like 80 plus years in the metal suit, so
Yes, exactly.
he's good. But
He's still
yeah,
young.
so this ending, like they're about to leave, and Natasha's gonna go with her, and then Carter gets pulled into the portal that Wanda Merlin from the 1602 universe pulls her into, which now and that's episode 8. So because we have 2 episodes between that, we have the what if Kahari reshaped the world and what if Hela found the 10 rings between that in the next 2 days. And now that we've seen the ending to this, I'll read the synopsis out really quick to episode 8. It's seemingly right where this one ends. It's when Captain Carter is transported to an Elizabethan era locale that's populated by modern day MCU figures. She'll have to uncover the cause of the temporal anomaly that's mysteriously stranded so many familiar heroes, villains in the year 1602. So it seems like the end of this episode is kind of setting up the climax and penultimate and finale episodes of this season.
Yeah,
And again, like I said, I really enjoyed the Watchers kind of what the hell here at the end too.
yeah. We both like that.
And I'm sure there's an episode or people have probably seen there's gifs online of where it's him in season 1 when Ultron stalks him and he's like, oh, I've seen everything. But what the is this?
Yeah,
So you can find that if it's that's what it reminded me of, and it just caught me so off guard that it made me laugh at the end of here.
yeah, yeah.
Now, as we wrap up this episode, was there anything else specifically in this one that you really enjoyed that you just wanted to bring to the attention? Like our friend Baxter commented, so this episode ruled. I would agree. I think of the ones so far, I think this was my favorite. I don't know if it was yours, but for me personally, it was.
I'm so glad. I don't know if it's my favorite. I'm not sure I have a favorite yet, Mark, just because I've liked them
Yeah.
all. But this one was solid, and said my love for Captain Carter, remains, and just such a. I think just. I mean, the animation has been great, but the writing's been so good. I think just this great balance between humor and drama and gosh, I've really been impressed.
I agree. I think, yeah. Factors in the live chat. He said you got to pick one Stanford.
I see that.
You got to pick.
It's all about the relationship between Peggy and Steve.
There you go. So, I think that means Stanford also likes this episode the most.
Yeah. Honestly, I am kind of partial to the Happy Hogan.
Oh yeah,
saves
yeah. More
Christmas.
MCU holiday content is what I say.
Yeah.
You just do an entire season of, or just do more like holiday specials. You did the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Do a Avengers holiday special.
Yes.
Or kid or like Young Avengers special. I mean, you can't do that yet because you haven't really formed them, but you know,
They're getting started.
you got options.
Yeah.
You got options.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'll
or
pick
just
the
do it.
Happy Hogan. What if what if Happy Hogan saved Christmas?
Nice.
Is a fave.
Yeah. So tomorrow we will have the next episode, which will be the What If Corey Reshaped the World. They also already released a clip to that one, which I thought was really cool, and made me more excited for that episode tomorrow. And what I think is pretty cool about it is that it's like in the Mohawk language in it too, and it's all subtitled, at least from that clip that they released.
In the clip,
which would be cool if they actually just did the entire episode like that, the same way that the movie Prey was done recently. Or I mean, you could watch two different versions. You could watch the Comanche language version of it, all subtitled, or the English version. Yeah. So if they stick to that tomorrow, that would be, I think, kind of awesome. But yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode of and our coverage of this episode of What If. So with that, if you haven't already, you can also find all of our past episodes and past content. And once this is all edited together as one long audio episode, you can find it at animationfascination.net. But thank you guys again for joining us on Boxing Day today. But for myself, I'm Mark Bibbert, and for Stanford Clark, I finally got the video directions right. Thank you guys for listening and watching, and we'll see you again later. Bye-bye.